Hey friends, this is a sequence that might be good after you go for a long walk or a run, or if you just wake up in the morning and you feel like you've been set in cement. So it's going to start by just settling down on the floor, on either a yoga mat or the floor. You don't need a yoga mat. And then you might want a folded blanket or towel or a small pillow underneath your head. And just take a moment to settle. Close your eyes and feel what's touching the ground. The back of your hips, the back of your ribs, the back of your head. And then we're going to start a windshield wiper action with our knees, letting the knees go from side to side. So as my knees arc to the side, I press with my heel. So if my knees are going to my right, I press with my left heel so that my left hip spreads and reaches forward. So find the pace that feels good to you and let it be luxurious. You're reaching in and finding a stretch that comes from the inside out. We're going to add some mobility work for the outside of the leg to this. So the next time I'm going to my right, I'm going to take my left leg and reach it to the lower right diagonal. Back into the windshield wiper. The top leg reaches to the lower diagonal, like it's reaching out and trying to touch something. Almost like there's a little button that I'm trying to reach down long and touch. Reaching it across and stretching out through the side of the hip. And out. You could open an arm, and this should all feel very, I'm going to use the word luxurious, lengthened, luscious, deeply stretching. Come back into a butterfly stretch, feet together, knees apart, and just take a moment to relax and settle. I'm going to bring both knees up from that butterfly position. So your knees are wide. Hold on to your knees and just rock from side to side. Let your low back spread out. So if you were in clay, you'd be imprinting your lower back into the clay. We're going to rock all the way over onto our side. So we're in a double knee twist, and our opposite arm is reaching out, and then extend your top leg out. So it's very active, again, like I'm trying to push a button. You open out to this wide reach, and then reaching, extending, like you're kicking the leg out in slow motion. Just take that from side to side. So it's very gooey and stretchy. We're not holding anything. We're developing that mobility through motion. Sometimes I imagine I'm pressing against something. I'm pushing my knee out against something. And then we're going to come back to the center. Bring your knees again into your chest. Settle your low back. And just wrap your arms around your knees, drawing your knees up, releasing your lumbar spine. Take both legs straight up. I'm going to bend one knee and hold my knee, and the other leg's going to come out to the side. So I'm using my hand on my bent knee and the other leg's reaching actively to the side, and then I'm bringing it back in. So I'm coming out, I'm holding only the bent knee, reaching the legs away from each other. My straight leg, I'm creating some tautness through it, so I'm strongly reaching out. It's not a passive leg, it's quite active. And on this last time, let's stay there and point and flex your foot. So reaching out, pointing. I know I've got camping feet right now. I'm sorry if they're dusty. And let's come back to the center and switch sides. One leg's bent, the other leg reaches out. You reach out and across, stretching the adductors, the muscles on the insides of the legs, and actively coming up. You could put your free hand even on your lower abdominal area and feel how the muscles work as they bring the legs back into the center. And find any quality of reach or stretch out through the inner thigh. This next time that your straight leg goes out, leave it out there. Again, very active, taut, point and flex. Reaching out through the toe and then pulling the heel away from the buttock, away from the hamstring. Okay, now put your free hand on the inside of your straight leg and just alternate your legs from that archer position. I think of it as an archer position, from one to the other. You can use your hands right behind your knees to draw the bent knee up towards your armpit. And with the other hand, reminding the back of your leg, the back of the knee, to straighten and stretch out. If your leg doesn't straighten easily, you might end up having your hand more on your upper inner thigh. If you're very flexible, you might have your hand closer in on the straight leg towards the ankle. The next time you have your right leg out, hang out there for a moment. Again, your hand that's on the straight leg might be behind the inner thigh, the back of your knee, your calf, or by your ankle, and stretch your legs away from each other actively, and then change sides. So again, these are mobility stretches. They're not ones necessarily that we're holding for a terribly long time. We're just moving through a deep range of motion. Okay, we're going to come back to the center. Fold your knees in, grab a hold of your ankles, and turn the soles of your feet up towards the sky or towards the ceiling. And then turn your feet down like you're in a squat, if you were up on your feet. So just alternate that movement, down and up. If you're more flexible, you might be able to grab a hold of the insides of your heels for that happy baby. And whatever your hips allow is just right. So it might be that you're holding on closer to the backs of your knees or the insides of your calves. Okay. We're going to cross the legs in what's sometimes called a figure 4 stretch, your ankle across your other knee, but we're not going to use our hands. We're going to use the active bent knee. So I have my right leg on top. You're going to bring it would be, if you have your right leg on top, your left knee up, and we're just going to circle and move the legs around, using the bottom leg to drive the stretch into the top hip. So it could feel best to you if you just rock from side to side, or maybe going out and in. So we're taking this as a very active stretch in the hips rather than just holding on to the legs. And if you find a position where you go, oh, wow, that really gets into a tight part of my hip, linger there, explore it a little bit more. And then let's switch sides. Take the other leg across. So if your right leg is the underneath leg, by bringing your knee towards your chest, it's going to stretch into the outer left hip, into your gluteal or buttock muscles. So find the movement that feels good to you. Ease in the neck, ease in the shoulders. As we're stretching the hips, also relax your jaw. Next, we're going to do what in yoga would be called a supta, which means reclining Gomukhasana, or cow's face position. I'm not quite sure how it looks like a cow, but maybe it does. Extend both legs up, cross your right leg over your left, and bend both knees. So now there's no space between your thighs. So it's different than what we did before. My knees are right together, and then either grab a hold of your knees or slide your hands down and take a hold of your lower shin. If you find to do this that your head is way up, then you know that probably a pillow or something under your head would help to keep the spine in neutral. Now I'm going to bend my elbows and move my shoulders towards the ground and bring my knees towards the center of my chest. So again, you might be holding the tops of your knees or your ankles. And we're going to hang out here for a little bit. So we're taking the legs into a deep stretch in the hips. It's going to be the top leg that has the most sensation. But investigate for yourself, where is that sensation? Does it increase when you breathe in? Does it change if you lean a little, inclining to one side? Okay. Release your hands. Take your legs up, cross them the other way. And again, it would be fine to just hold the bundle of your legs at the knees and explore there. It gets more strong as a stretch in the hips if you hold on to your lower shins. So find what feels interesting to you, what feels like the right amount of pressure. You can get a very deep stretch by folding the knees in towards your chest. You don't have to be holding the lower shins. And again, investigate. What if I lean a little to the side? What if I breathe more deeply? Can I relax the ankles, my face? In a moment, we're going to come back to a stretch for the legs, but we're going to move into a stretch for our rib cage and open up because we've been kind of closed for a bit. Roll towards your side so you can see your screen if it's on the side. So I'm on one side. I'm going to take my arm that's on top. I'm going to sweep it across on the ground until the top arm, back of the shoulder, is as close to the floor as possible. And then I'm going to come back. And do that a couple of times. I'm going to switch, opening up through the side. I could take the lower arm and put it on the top of my knees so that my knees stay down. And I'm going to encourage you to, rather than staying in the final stretch, to do a few where you're coming into it, opening across the front of your chest, and then back and folding over so that you feel the action, that spiral reach. The next time you're open, let's stay open. Now, you can increase the length by taking the leg that's on top, straightening it out and reaching it to the lower diagonal as I reach my arm to the upper diagonal. So I have this long stretch through my body. Deep breath in and out. Fold back to the center and roll over to your other side. Both arms are on one side, both knees are on that same side. Sweep your arm across in a big arc. And then back over, trailing your fingers on the ground. And the front of the chest at the pectorals opens up, the shoulder opens up. And of course, with any of these movements, if there's a range that doesn't feel good, like if your shoulder doesn't happily go over your head, you could change your path, maybe bringing it across the body. If your left shoulder isn't happy going straight up. whichever shoulder you're sweeping across. The next time your arm is open to the outside, roll your chest so that your chest is facing up, spreading long. If you wanted to try that other variation, you would straighten the leg that's on the top to the lower diagonal and the arm to the upper diagonal. So you have that long reach through your body. This is really helpful for those of us that get tight across the hips in the IT band, the tensor fascia lata, and in the lower back, this whole outer compartment of the hip. Then we're going to roll back onto our back. Settle yourself so that you're straight up and down. And if you have a strap or a band or a belt or a yoga strap, grab that. If it's possible to make a loop in it, that's fine. Otherwise, you would just hold the two ends of it. Let's all start with our right leg. So you have the left leg bent and the right leg up. And find a way to hold your strap. If you happen to have a loop in it, maybe you can loop your hand through. And you're going to reach your leg up. There's a tendency sometimes to pull the leg up so much that it has to bend. Better to have a longer loop and have your leg straight. So when it's up, it can be completely straight. That said, I'm going to have you bend the leg in, bending your arm, and then straightening it and reaching it out. So we're creating motion, folding your knee down towards your chest, and then elongating the back of your leg. So find that rhythm, bringing it in and reaching it out. Now, as I bring my leg in, I'm going to flex my foot. And as I reach it out, I'm reaching through the ball of my foot. So I'm in more of a half point. Coming in and pressing the ball of my foot into the strap so I can create some tautness in the arm. The next time I have my leg straight, I'm going to keep it straight. And I'm going to flex my foot, letting the elbow and the weight of the arm come down. So the leg still has an active quality. I'm never stretching a passive leg. Now, as I'm reaching up with that right leg, I'm pressing down in the back of my pelvis, not my low back, but the back of the pelvis, so that I have a tiny little space under my low back. If that's not possible for you, no worries. Just straighten and really get that strong reach out through the back of that leg. Let's hold that for another few breaths. I'm now holding the strap with the same arm as my leg. I'm going to switch now. So now I have my left hand and my straight right leg. I'm going to cross the leg over to the side. I'm going to let now my right hip, again, if you have your right leg up, follow me, you're going to lift your right hip up like you're going to roll towards the left and then fold it back so it touches. So we're taking a little rock. It's crossing over and then drawing back. Crossing over, and I'm helping that drive by my bent left leg, and I'm keeping my right leg very straight. So we're finding where is that line of stretch along the back of the leg in the hamstring and calf, and also along the outer leg. We did a lot for the insides of the legs earlier. So it's still active. It's still like I'm reaching out to touch a button and then drawing back down. Now keep both hips evenly. You're going to take your right thumb at the crease of the top of your right thigh and press that right thigh, right where the thigh meets the hip, downwards, away from your chin. Drawing that down, 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 down. Let's come back to the center. Slip the strap again into your right hand, right leg, and bring the other knee up, and then go back to that open stretch that we did before. If you can, you're going to bend your right arm and reach that leg, using now the help of the strap to stretch out to the side. Check in, neck and shoulders relaxed. Full open breath through your torso. Let's come back to the center. Undo that leg and just take a moment to stretch both legs out. Shake your legs out a little bit. Check in with your sensation. Let's do that sequence on the other side. Bending the right leg, taking your left leg up, wrap it through the strap. So this is same arm as leg. If someone was looking at you from underneath and they saw the back of your waist, like if you were wearing a belt, it should be even with your shoulders, not with the left side hiked up. So that side's often going to lift up and shorten. So you want to keep that side long. Like we did before, bending and then reaching through the ball of your foot, like you're sharpening your leg. Creating that bend, that fold in, knee towards your chest, and reaching out. Bending and reaching. One side you may need to make a much bigger loop. So for those of you that are less flexible, the leg may be at a long angle. Don't worry if your reach isn't close to 90 degrees. Some people have more length in their hamstrings and some people less. The goal is just to have a nice sense of stretch that's right for you. It's not to get to a particular level of flexibility. Now hold that leg long, pull the toes down, the heels up, and stretch actively through the back of your leg. Press the back of your pelvis on the ground. So if you were in clay, you'd be imprinting your sacrum right in the middle of the back of your pelvis straight onto the ground. You switch hands. So this time it'll be your left leg up, your right leg across. I'm going to lift up until the hip lifts off slightly, and then I'm going to drop it down. So I'm creating this motion from the bent leg. The foot that's on the ground is helping to find mobility in the outer hip of the left leg. So notice whether you're going so fast that you're missing the subtlety of the sensation. Sometimes by slowing it down, you'll find, I can open up that sticky spot. If I spread my toes on my left foot and pull my toes back towards my knee on the left leg, I get a deeper stretch that moves through not only the back of the leg, but my outer leg. The next time that your hips are on the ground, take the thumb side of your free arm, draw the hip down away from the bottom of your chin. So the side of the stretching leg gets long. But we have a whole body. So find, how does my pressure in my right foot support what I'm doing? Is my neck long? The spine, the breath? Can you include everything in your perception? Let's switch back, left hand on the strap, bend your right leg, bring your knee into your chest, and then just open that leg out to the side. So like we did earlier, the hand is on the inside of the knee, the other leg out. And take a moment to open the adductors. The adductors are the muscles on the inside of the leg. And we've done really all the corners of the leg, the back of the leg, the insides, the outsides. We are also going to stretch the front of the hips. And then let's come back to the center. Give yourself one more moment. One more good deep stretch in your hamstring on that side. If you do these things regularly, your hips will feel different. Okay, and then let's let that leg down. Take both legs long for a moment and just rock your legs in and out. So I'm rocking on my heels. You can't quite see that here. If I'm here, you can see my heels are rocking in and out. I'm just loosening up my legs and my hips, rocking from side to side. Now bend your knees in. We're going to raise the pelvis. Scoot back down so I'm in there. And then raise your hips. So if I put a marble on my belly and I lowered my right hip, the marble would go to my right hip and then the left hip. So just let the hips shift side to side. So you're shifting, 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 easy in the back. Tailbone under now. So then the marble would roll towards my chest. And then if I arch my back a little, the marble might roll more towards my pubic bone. So forward and back, tailbone toward the ground, lower back towards the ground. The pelvis is lifted and loose. Now, roll your hips around, almost, it's kind of like a roulette wheel. Both directions. And then just take your hips and jiggle them up and down like they're on a trampoline. Maybe shake out your hips, shake out your butt, and then drop all the way down. Okay. Turn onto your side. Sweep your hand down your shin and grab a hold of the front of your ankle. Then bring your knee down low so it's parallel to the other and press the front of your ankle bone, right at that front there, back into your hand. It's almost like you're trying to make like an okay sign like that with your arm and your leg. You might even be able to bend the arm that's holding on to your foot. So it's very active. Now I'm going to bring my knee slightly forward and slightly back. That's going to change where that stretch is. So this is knee flexion. My knee is folding in, and hip extension. So that movement of the hip, bringing the leg back, is hip extension. The stretch that we did earlier with the hamstring is hip flexion. And then at the ankle, the pointed foot is plantar flexion. So I'm flexing the bottom of the foot. My foot's pointed. Okay. Let's switch sides. And you know what I'm doing, so if you need to face away from the screen, that's fine. So I'm grabbing hold of my ankle. I'm lowering my knee so it's not flared upwards, and then I'm bringing the leg back. And then to create some motion, tells the body, like, this is possible, versus just holding it at the end of its range. So I'm bringing my knee parallel to the floor towards the thigh, and then bringing the knee back behind the front of the hip. You can bend the arm that's holding the leg. And this is a strong, strong stretch. Our quads are very strong. They're some of the strongest muscles in the body. So there's often a lot of sensation in there. Okay. Let's release that. Come onto the back. And then I'm going to have my arms right next to me. I'm going to press up in my hips. So I'm opening up the front of the hips again, clasp my hands underneath me, and then I'm going to roll onto one shoulder and take the other shoulder under. I'm going to roll onto my shoulder and take the other shoulder under, and do it a couple of times. So I'm creating a long rainbow in my upper chest. So this is a yoga bridge, a bridge pose. As I do this, I reach my tailbone towards the back of my knees, pressing my pelvis upwards, but also lengthening the low back. So I don't think of trying to get my belly button the highest, but instead drawing the pubic bone towards my belly button and squeezing at the tops of my hamstrings to come up. Knees are not flared to the outsides of my hips, but instead parallel. So I have a way to come down from this that feels quite good. I'll talk you through it. You don't even have to look at the screen. Undo your hands. Reach your arms above your head, backs of your hands on the floor, and hook your thumbs together. Stretch your arms up. So your hands are making like a phoenix shape. Reach your arms up. Lift onto the balls of your feet. Your hips are still up. Then you're going to slowly roll down through your spine. Lowering, lowering, lowering. Eventually your heels will come down. See if you can get your whole spine to touch the ground, lengthening by reaching out and out and out with your arms. And relax your arms once your hips are there. Place your hands onto your ribs. Walk your feet wider than your hips and let your knees come together. So your knees, one will support the other. And let's take a moment here and squeeze with your muscles. So you're going to squeeze the muscles of both of your buttocks. Squeezing tight, tight, tight. And then relax. And do that again. Squeeze and then relax. And squeeze and relax. So we're just flushing that area out. And then you might even see, you don't have to keep your knees right together, but can you squeeze one side and then the other side? Hamstrings, inner thighs, buttocks. Getting some sensation in there. And then just relax completely. Settle your shoulders so that your shoulder blades draw down your back. And I'm going to keep my hands right on my ribs. So that as I breathe, I feel the billowing of my breath into my hands. So stay with me here. In a way, this relaxation is the most important part of this whole sequence. If you need to adjust your position, for instance, having your legs straight or having your calves on a couch or a chair, or the backs of your knees on a bolster, make any adjustments that would help you to deeply relax. So I'm letting my body metabolize the motion. No need to take extra deep breaths. Witness the simplicity of the rise and the fall of your breath. You can take your attention like a wide tooth comb through the body and watch for any place where you're holding a little extra. Some common places that we often hold tension, one would be in the jaw or the neck and shoulders. Sometimes we hold tension in our lower ribs around our solar plexus. Sometimes in our hip joints. Then start to deepen your breath. Let your fingers and your toes move. And when you're ready, roll towards your side. I hope that your body feels wonderful and inspired to keep moving.